Sri Lanka spent 400 billion to choose China to reclaim land and build a port city and donated land to China. Why did India obstruct it in every possible way? In this video, let us learn more about it. Sri Lanka spent 400 billion yuan to ask China to build a maritime city, and will also give China 200,000 square meters of territory. After India got the news, it could no longer hold back. In order to prevent the cooperation between China and Sri Lanka, India has been constantly messing around, and at the same time, it also tried to take that land as its own. You must know that this is the first overseas port city built by China so far, and its significance is simply immeasurable. What is even more incredible is that this is an unprecedented super project, with a planned area of more than 5.3 million square meters. The subsequent investment amount reached an astonishing hundreds of billions of yuan. As soon as this news came out, it immediately triggered a heated discussion around the world. How cool is this port city? Why was Sri Lanka so generous? Why was India upset after seeing it? What's the story behind this? Colombo, Sri Lanka is a very ancient port. As early as the 18th century, this was the world's largest maritime cargo transit station. It is currently one of the largest ports in the world and is the economic center of Sri Lanka. Merchant ships from Asia to Europe often dock here. In order to maximize the benefits of Colombo port, the Sri Lankan government decided to build a commercial tourism city nearby. According to Sri Lanka's plan, it is to create a diversified urban area in Colombo, including skyscrapers, luxury hotels, commercial shopping areas, water sports, and other multi-functional scenic spots. The city covers an area of 5.7 million square meters and can accommodate a population of 200,000. The construction cost is as high as 400 billion. The ambitious plan attracted global attention. Every country submitted a proposal to Sri Lanka. After many rounds of selection, Sri Lanka finally decided to hand over the project to a Chinese company, and the land involved in the project would also be permanently managed by China. As an important node of China's One Belt, One Road initiative, the construction of Colombo Port is an important layout of China's maritime Silk Road. The successful implementation of this plan will not only promote economic and trade cooperation between China and South Asia, the Middle East, Africa, and other regions, but also promote economic development and cultural exchanges in countries along the route, thereby promoting the development of the world economy. After seeing China taking over the Colombo port, more than 20 capitalist countries, including the United States, India, and Japan, could not sit still and wanted to get involved in Sri Lanka. They immediately put pressure on Sri Lanka and threatened to sever diplomatic relations. The biggest voice of opposition here was India. India is located to the north of Sri Lanka and has a much longer coastline than Sri Lanka. However, because of the Colombo port, the presence of the ports in the southern state of India has never been strong, so the Indian government is doing everything possible to control Sri Lanka, especially the Colombo port. Controlling Colombo is tantamount to curbing the economic lifeline from the Asia Pacific region to Europe. As one of China's biggest competitors in South Asia, India believes that China's construction of a port in Sri Lanka is a military intention that may affect India's interests in the Indian Ocean region. In addition, India is also worried that China's construction of a port in Sri Lanka will increase Sri Lanka's dependence on China, thereby making it an outpost of China in South Asia. These concerns have triggered strong opposition in India to China's construction of maritime cities. So why did the United States want to get involved? Mainly, this project affects the geopolitics of the Indo Pacific region. The Sri Lankan government has no money but wants to get things done. The country also has no minerals and oil and cannot exchange it for Chinese infrastructure. Therefore, it was decided to use 200,000 square meters of land in exchange for the Chinese to build Colombo's new maritime city. But the United States could no longer sit still. After Obama was re-elected in 2012, the United States planned to pursue an Indo Pacific strategy. To put it simply, the United States wants to return its power to Asia, especially to strengthen its control over the Indian Ocean and Southeast Asia, with the purpose of containing China. This time the United States takes action to reduce China's influence in the Indo-Pacific region. Under pressure from India and the United States, the Sri Lankan government had no choice but to give in. In 2015, the Sri Lankan government unilaterally tore up the agreement on the grounds that the terms of the contract were problematic. The project accounts were unclear, and it harmed the ecological environment of the Colombo coast. This makes China very passive. Although the agreement with China was torn up, Sri Lanka still wants to build this maritime city. So Sri Lanka turned to Japan. Japan is also very concerned about Sri Lanka. Every time there is a humanitarian crisis in Sri Lanka, Japan will donate hundreds of millions of dollars. Japan has also provided long-term loans of $15 billion to Sri Lanka. But Japan does not have the ability to build maritime cities, and they cannot even lay the foundations. The same goes for countries such as Europe and the United States. Sri Lanka went around in circles and found that only China could build this city. Because China is very capable of reclamation and land reclamation, the largest sand-blowing ships in the world are in China. In recent years, China has also built many islands in the South China Sea, and its technology and construction experience lead the world. The famous Tianjin dredger can build an area of land as large as 4 football fields in one day. As a result, the Sri Lankan government signed a new treaty with China. The new agreement changed the original permanent gift of 200,000 square meters of land to a 99 years lease, and at the same time gave away an additional 20,000 square meters of land as the previous liquidated damages. Seeing Sri Lanka's sincerity, the Chinese government agreed to the project. After the agreement was signed, 4 Chinese dredgers arrived at the Colombo port in Sri Lanka and started building land at full capacity. The Sri Lankan people saw the miraculous workmanship of nature. In less than 3 years, the land reclamation project next to Colombo port has been completed. The foundation of more than 5 million square meters has also been laid, and the 4 commercial buildings in the middle are about to be topped out. China's infrastructure technology and speed shocked Sri Lankan government officials. In another 2 years, the maritime city will be open to the world. In fact, although this project was quite tortuous in the early stage, once it is completed, its subsequent influence on China will not be ordinary. There is only a strait between Sri Lanka and India, with the Bay of Bengal to the north and the Arabian Sea to the west. Its location in the Indian Ocean can be said to be very important, as almost all sea routes pass through here. It can be said that it is a transit point for shipping from all countries in South Asia. According to statistics, more than half of the world's oil transportation and container transportation pass through here. China is the world's second largest oil consumer, with 60% of its oil imported from Middle Eastern countries. In other words, Chinese cargo ships will often pass through here. If China builds the Colombo port city and has the management rights of this place, China's energy transportation will have better security. Moreover, Sri Lanka is also an important site in the Belt and Road Initiative. Peaceful cooperation, mutual benefit and win-win results have always been China's principles for smooth implementation of the Belt and Road Initiative. Therefore, China will certainly do its best to help Sri Lanka complete this project. Finally, in January 2019, all 269 hectares of the Colombo project were filled as scheduled, even 2 months ahead of schedule. This allowed the world to see what the real speed of China is, and Naranwakar, then Minister of Metropolitan and Western Development of Sri Lanka, said that China has created miracles here. Many locals also say that this port city carries the future of Colombo and is also the most promising project in Sri Lanka. Even the President of Sri Lanka said that the port city built by China will bring more opportunities to Colombo. In the latest issue of the American Forbes magazine, the Colombo port city built in China was also named one of the 5 new cities that will influence the future. Although this cooperation project was once interfered with by the Indians, it can be seen from the failure of India's final plan that China's own strength cannot be concealed. China can always surprise the world time and time again, and today's Colombo port city can also connect the financial trade between Singapore and Dubai. Through the cooperation between China and Sri Lanka and the reactions of some Western countries, we can see that with the continuous rise of China's infrastructure maniac, various forces have begun to secretly collude. They have only one purpose, which is to try their best to stop China's development. China must be more vigilant about this. Fortunately, China is strong enough today. From this Colombo incident, we can see that a great Eastern country that combines technology and strength has begun to emerge. In the future, there will be more overseas ports waiting for China to develop. Let us wait and see. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more great content. See you next time.